Hi everybody, John back again. Happy New Year to everybody that I haven't said already Happy New Year to. And well, been a little bit overwhelmed since Christmas and everything, so a little bit late out with my vinyl tag. And but I thought it was a good way to kick off the new year, I guess, on the vinyl community. Well, so let's get started. So first question, a discovery in 2020. I'm going to have to bring up this one. This is an amazing progressive rock album. Just come out this 2020, and it's Italian, so it's Italian prog. And I'd never heard of this band before, but they've got a few albums in the pipe. So this is their most recent, and I just really like the cover, and that's what drew me in, I suppose. Lovely gatefold sleeve. It's quite special. It's on green vinyl. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name in Italian of the band, but I'll tell you that it translates to the wax mask. Quarantine by. Now, I've been saying a few times in my most recent videos that I've been spending quite a lot of quality time whilst out walking my dog, listening to music on my headphones, because I have a Sony Discman that I listen to, and my dog needs a lot of exercise, and with all the different restrictions that we've had, we're allowed to go out and walk for an hour or so, and I'm fortunate enough to live in quite a nice place where I can do that along the coast, and I really enjoy listening to sweeping epic progressive rock while I'm doing it. And so I've bought a fair amount. Now this is one of the ones that I've bought. This is Aphrodite's Child and their 666 album. It's one that I've been curious about for a while. You don't see it about very often, and if you do find a copy, sort of an original copy on vinyl, or any kind of copy on vinyl, you've got to pay a lot of money for it. And I thought, well, no, I'll just order myself a copy on CD, and I'm glad I did, really, because although it's quite an interesting album and I've enjoyed listening to it, and it's a double CD, so there's a lot of music to listen to. I don't really feel I need to have it on vinyl. This is quite good as it is. I mean, if I stumble upon it in a car boot sale for a £5, then of course I'll grab it. But I don't feel that I need to invest, lots of money on a vinyl copy. So the first disc is really where the progressive rock happens. So it's a concept album, basically, all about Revelations, the last chapter of the Bible, and the first disc is really where that all happens. The second disc is, I'd say, it's less prog and more psychedelic. Didn't really enjoy the second disc quite as much, but it's okay, not so bad. So that's my buy for lockdown. An album that I would like to find in 2021. Well, initially I thought to myself, well, the way I go shopping is I like to go crate digging. I like to cruise the second-hand places and things. So often the record that I really want to find is one that I haven't found yet, and I don't know until I find it. So it's not really much of an answer, though, is it? But I thought I'd hold it this one. So this is The Man That Sold the World. The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie. It's his third album as a solo artist, and it's one of the earliest ones that I got of his, but I've always thought that it's slightly different from the music that came before and after. It's got you think about the Space Oddity album, there's a kind of an obvious folky kind of acoustic thing going on there, very nice, very light and airy. And then Hunky Dory, which came out after this, is very sort of theatrical, quite a lot of piano bass, but still, you know, acoustic in places, and there's a lot of air and space in between the music. Whereas this, I've always felt, is kind of sounds like it's been produced in a small room in a box sort of thing. I don't know if that's just because this is my pressing and that's the way it sounds. It's the only one I've ever heard, really, and I've often wondered, you know, maybe if I got a different issue or different pressing, maybe it might sound better. So I thought this year what I'll try and do is get one. There's a couple of different covers, aren't there? There's the American cover that I've seen. It's like an illustration. And then there's also the other UK cover of David Bowie with quite long hair, sort of laying on a chaise longue, I think. I'm going to try and pick up one of those. If there's anyone out there, like Richard McCook or somebody that you know is quite a Bowie fan, would you advise me one or the other of those sort of particular issues to get if I want to kind of find a better sounding record than this particular one? I'll be open to suggestions. Thanks. A box set. Here I'm going to show this one. This is a box set by Magma. I can't really tell you much about it. I don't really do box sets. It's not my thing. I don't go out. My personal view of box sets is that, you know, while there's a sort of new, fresh vinyl revival, and there's a lot of people going out buying them because they want to, you know, explore what's available and everything. I really do think that there'll come a time, I don't know, 10 years time, 15 years time, when you'll find a lot of these box sets that people spend a lot of money on just lining the shelves of charity shops, because I think many people probably buy them just for the novelty of it, and it looks great, doesn't it? I'm sure they're lovely things to have, but I think there's a whole wave of people just going to wonder why this is collecting dust on their shelf and just sort of discard them. That's when I'll buy box sets. But anyway, this is a box set that I've had. I never even listened to this. It's a CD box set of Magma. Now, Magma are a French sort of fuel band, they call them, don't they? Very, I mean, it falls under the thing of progressive rock, but it's kind of really out there kind of stuff. I'll show you some of the some of the lyrics. I don't know if you can see that, but they're kind of repetitive. But every song is a bit like that. Every song is sort of Anyway, so that's Magma, and there's 3 very nice looking glossy CDs in here. Maybe I'll get round to listen to it one day. Somebody gave this to me for free. It's my best friend that was managing the closure of a record shop in Stockholm. He gave it to me because, yeah, well, he's a nice guy. But I've never felt the need to really listen to it. So there you go. There's my box concept album. I thought maybe I'll avoid some of the well-known ones, and I'm going to show this. So this is the Plasmatics, or Wendy O. Williams. Wendy O. Williams used to be the singer in the Plasmatics. This is the last album that came out as the Plasmatics album. And a lot of people say that it's more of a Wendy Williams solo album than a Plasmatics album, but she's used the name because perhaps the name of the Plasmatics was sort of bigger and would, you know, make for a bigger interest. So it's an album called Maggots, the record, and it's a concept album all about the future. It's set in the future, I think, from about 20-25 years from the point where this was made. I think it's 85 or something like that, 87, yeah. So it's set in 25 years future from that, and the idea is that by that point people had sort of trashed the world, the earth, and some scientists invented a breed of maggots that would eat all the rubbish and trash that humans or mankind had made. And it's successful, they do that, but then once they've eaten all the trash, then they start eating the people. So it's a bit of an apocalyptic kind of thing. Interesting idea, and it's quite well executed for a punk band, you know, that's an unusual thing to show. So there you go, Plasmatics, Maggots. And an album where the artist changed direction. I'm going to hold up this is Quiet Life by Japan. I've been a big fan of Japan for a long time, David Sylvian, and I'm holding up this one because I think, yeah, this is the album where they changed, and the changes that they made to create this record still hold pretty much through what many of them do now. So they started off, the first two albums were sort of a glam style, punk style, sort of trashy glam type band, and I like those. They're actually very, very good records. Adolescent Sex and I can't remember the other one right now off the top of my head. I'll write that here. But this is the third album, and here they shift very drastically from being a glam band with sort of a rocky sound and become much more slick, a lot more electronics orientated, and David Sylvian starts using a different singing voice. A white label promo. I've seen a lot of people repeat the same thing when talking about this. It's like the record collectors, we've got lots and lots and lots of records, and we know that at least one or two of them have got white labels, but which ones? I can't remember. You know, you've got shelves and shelves of records. Other than go through every one, how could you possibly know? And I had an inkling that I think that this was a white label. It's a non-music record. I bought this in the summer last year, and it's a guy called Jack Hargreaves who does sort of talk records. I think he's probably dead now, or if he's not, he's very old, because he was old here when he made this. And he has a series of records out where he talks about fishing. He talks about this. He was talking about dogs, and then he's got other ones talking about various other things. But it's often sort of country life style things. And yeah, this is actually on a plain white label. And well, I'll show you a picture of how it should normally look. And so I can say that I'm fortunate to have stumbled upon probably quite a rarity. Compilation. This is the compilation I've chosen to show today. Well, it's more of a sampler, I suppose. It's put out by Warner Brothers, 1971, 1972, I think. And I didn't understand this in the beginning, which is why I'm redoing this bit now again. But it's apparently Burbank, the whole Burbank catalogue. It's a sort of play on the idea. There was a company, or still is a company, called Burbank Seeds that, you know, give out seeds, and they have sort of like a catalogue of all their seeds. I don't really see the connection here, but so this is called the whole Burbank catalogue. At the bottom of here it says, much of the world is sometimes covered in darkness. And on the back it says, Captain Beefheart calls it God's golf ball. So yeah, I think there's some sort of a, you know, reason behind the sort of formatting of the compilation like this. It's apparently it's a bit of a wacky compilation because it's got some very big songs written by big names, interwoven in amongst people that you know never heard of before. I quite like things like this because well, it's a great way to discover artists, and even, you know, artists that would have sort of disappeared into the woodwork. An album that needs a vinyl pressing. I've got quite a lot of albums on CD that I really like that have never been officially released on vinyl, and this is one of them. So this is a Swedish progressive rock band called The Ritual, and this album itself is probably one of my favourite, somewhere in my top 10 I would say. And any of this albums have only been released on CD, but this is such a fantastic album, and I guess, you know, maybe proggers may be aware of them a little bit, but I just think, you know, there's no reason why this shouldn't be much more known about than it is. So the album is called the Hemulic Voluntary Band, and it's about, really, it's not a concept album, I don't think, although there is a long track on there, a long piece that is 26 minutes long, which is based, or tells the story of Moomin Trolls, one of the books that Tove Jansson wrote. And the 26-minute piece talks about that and tells the story quite cleverly, and it's really nice. It's got some lovely illustrations in here of these Moomin Trolls. And I think, to be honest with you, I think this band, it's been a theme of their music that they've sort of delved into at other times before, the Moomins. I'm not really a lyrics person, so I don't always sort of follow lyrics, and if it's a concept, and unless I get it musically, it just goes over my head. But yeah, so that could do with a vinyl release. Brilliant album. Recommend that to anybody. So, a common album and an uncommon album. This is about as common as it gets. Brilliant album, not one that I, you know, show because so many people show this. And sure, you can find this, you know, anywhere, because it is really common. It's sold shed loads of copies of this. Nobody really needs to ever buy a brand new copy of this, because you can just go to your, you know, local charity shop or car boot sale and you'll find it, because they've sold so many copies of this. And so, yeah, that's a common record by Fleetwood Mac. And this next one is, well, less of a common record, I could say. It's even uncommon. It's one of the early ones. I think this is the first album that Christine McVie sang on when she joined Fleetwood Mac. So, an EP. This is an EP to end all EPs. So this is a nice, lush mono copy of Magical Mystery Tour. It's got one 7-inch record there, and it's got its booklet, lots of pictures, and yeah, that sort of thing. And then it's got another record here at the back. So the 4 tracks on here are Magical Mystery Tour, Your Mother Should Know, I Am the Walrus, and then there's The Fall on the Hill, Flying, and Blue Jean Way. So that's 1, 2, 3, so 6 tracks. Fanny Hill is an all-female band. Haven't really got much to say about them, except, yeah, it answers one of the questions. And an album with a cover that I love. Well, love and love, you know. I think it's a word that gets overused. This is a cover that I like very, very much. How about that? Frank Zappa, Hot Rats. One of his more iconic record covers, I think. Although he's got a few, but this is perhaps the one that is most iconic. I like the tinting, the way it's sort of been tinted like this, and this, you know, this was before desktop publishing or anything, so it would have been done by hand. I quite like, you know, it almost looks like that girl coming out of the well in The Ring, doesn't it? Anyway, so that's Frank Zappa. Album that you've listened to the most. I haven't been hard about that. I mean, does that mean album that I've listened to the most in my life, or an album that I've listened to most this week? You know, it's kind of open-ended, so I'm going to just go album that I've listened to the most this this past year, 2020, and I'm going to hold up this one. This is my favourite album of the year, this one. So it's released 2020, and I said in my last video how, you know, some of these epic pieces, they take quite a bit of listening to really kind of familiarise yourself with, and some of those are quite hard to do in a house full of people during lockdown, whereas this I managed to do, and yeah, I've probably put a bit of time into this, but it's gorgeous, fantastic record, and because it's so nice, I've probably listened to it more. So that's the one I'm going to nominate for that. By the way, I'm also going to hold this up as being the album that I had to get an OG copy of. Purely because it is newly released and it hasn't been reissued yet, so the original is the only one that you can get. But hey, I got it also because I know that if I didn't get it now, in 6 months' time, or you know, even after, it cost me a lot more. I wish I'd have got their third album that they made a few years ago. Lovely record. Well, I got it on CD, but if I were to buy it on vinyl now, it's going to cost me, you know, in the region of, you know, maybe £100 or more. Last album you purchased? Well, it's probably this one. This is Shylock. Shylock are a French band, and I bought their first album some years ago. Yeah, I mean, these were released in the 70s, and it's been good, and I don't know why I've never picked this one up, but I saw my chance, and I had some money from my parents for Christmas, and well, I thought, well, I'll treat myself to that record. I think in my mind I decided that I didn't need it or didn't want it, but then I looked a bit closer and wondered, well, why did I think that? Anyway, it's brilliant. Really great French progressive rock. I think they're often listed as being a band that had a huge influence on Englagord, and that really drives my interest. Album they don't get. Well, I think I've got an album in mind. I don't have it in my hands now because I've posted the album to a friend of mine just before Christmas, because it's an album that's often sort of derided and criticised and dismissed, which I think is brilliant. And the reason why people sort of dismiss it is because it's not part two of the first album. The first album they released is really good, great. The second album, they purposely made something different because they didn't want to repeat themselves, but the public and the critics really panned it because they said, oh, it's nothing like the first one. You know, my view is, if you come to the second one first and like that, you discover it with, you know, with a clean slate, if you like. And I've sent that off to a friend in the hope that maybe he might be able to hear what I'm hearing when I hear that record. So there you go. It's a beauty stab. Punk record, Undertones. It's an album I picked up from a charity shop just a few weeks before Christmas. Lovely to have. Couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. I got this at the same time as I got the Vendigraph generator from the same shop the same day. So there's the Undertones, my punk album. And the last question, I understand, was favourite 2020 reissue. I don't have any reissues to show you that was released in 2020, so I'm going to end my vinyl tag there. Hope I get it in after the editing under 20 minutes. Thanks. Check out my next video, everybody. Bye.